David, one of your theories, which I am a huge fan of, is this idea that brands need to stop interrupting. And funny enough, I have a 2-year-old son who loves to watch Paw Patrol, and we have it DVR'd. And he's super cute, and he is so upset whenever a commercial comes on. I mean, he just starts to yell at the TV, "Mom, commercial, commercial, commercial," and he just wants me to change it. So even he's attuned to it, and he understands, and he's only 2. So imagine what your other consumers are thinking about related to interruptive marketing. So in the masterclass, we're going to be talking about how brands can overcome that, and how they can really create these content studios within their structures and their frameworks to their team and really create a more inclusive environment for their communication staff. If you can talk a little bit about, your theory about interruptive marketing and also this idea of how brands can overcome that with content studios, I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you go back outside of even marketing and advertising, just in general, we've technology now, and really none of us really like to be interrupted at all. Right? We're focused on what we're doing, and interruption is a distraction, and it takes away from whatever was happening at that moment. So apply that to marketing and advertising, whereas previously that was the only way to learn about a product, right? And technology didn't allow you to skip it. So really as a consumer, you had to watch the commercials, and you didn't mind. But now, because there's so many screens and so many interruptions daily, not just from marketing and advertising, but from everything else, you really want to be focused. And so what I talk about is the idea that brands need to stop interrupting what consumers are interested in and actually become what they're interested in. Mm-hmm. The idea there is that rather than deliver content that isn't relevant, it doesn't provide value, it's promotional, it's all about you, that you're the brand, your features, benefits, all of that. Provide content that entertains them, that informs them, that builds a relationship with them. Mm-hmm. And you can call it an ad, you can call it content, but the idea is that start to creating content that actually people want. Mm-hmm. Right? And so within a brand, a content studio is a great way to do that, to focus on story-driven content.
Yeah.
And that could be lots of things. And influencer marketing is part of that. Creating webisodes, documentaries, brand storytelling about other areas in your business. But the idea there, again, entertain and inform them. You will build a relationship with them, and then they're more likely to say, okay, I understand that brands need to advertise, which next-gen consumers do, but do it in a way where you're providing value to me first. Then I'll listen to your pitch, essentially, about how your product, your service can help me and the features and benefits of that.
And it's this whole idea of reciprocity in marketing, right? So it's like, if you give me something of value, I'm going to listen to your pitch, but I need some value first. Yeah.
And so content studios are a great way to help to put together an organization. And a lot of people, when they hear that word, they think it's expensive, it's hard to do. It's blowing everything up, throwing everything out the window that we're doing, and that's not true. A content studio is really a term for an organization, and there's many ways to build one and create one, and different people to hire. We're going to walk through all the different. In fact, there's 10 different types of content studios, and then what do those actually mean? And again, what's the purpose of them? How do they fit into everything else you're doing? But
David, maybe if you can, if you don't mind, I'll just interrupt really quick. Could you go into like one type of studio, just so people have an idea of what you're talking about when you say a content studio?
Yeah, so you could look at a brand that has an internal content studio, like the one that I built at Marriott, that we produced, all the webisodes, TV shows, digital publications, documentaries. And the idea was that we wanted to tell stories to entertain consumers and build a relationship with it that way. But it doesn't mean that we went and hired 40 people, built a production studio, had cameras. In fact, we never physically produced anything in-house. The model was we were going to hire people with storytelling backgrounds. That could mean someone from television. It could mean someone from journalism. It could mean someone who's a producer before, from PR, whatever it may be, but someone that understood how do you craft a story. Develop the idea with the brand, and then go find the right creators to execute it. And that could be a production company, it could be talent, it could be an influencer, a variety of ways. That's one model. Then there's another model of we are actually going to build out a fully functioning studio with edit bays and with equipment and with producers and with writers and the different content. And then there's one of the other models is where you're actually working with a production company to do something similar, right? So we're going to cover all those different type of models, plus how do you work with publishers who have content studios. Everyone has a content studio today. It's like the hot new thing, right? And it makes sense because we know that people want stories and that's what they relate to. And so we'll walk through those, and then especially who are the right type of people to hire, how do you staff it, and then super important is understanding the difference. This is not replacing other traditional types of advertising you're doing.
Yeah.
It's in addition to, and I also like to clarify that when I talk about the power of storytelling, it's very effective, but it doesn't mean that should be the only thing in your marketing mix.
Right, of course, it can't be the only thing.
Other things work, but it should be connected to. So we're going to talk about, okay, how do you connect what you're doing in the content studio with what another group is doing? And with your promotions group, with your events group, with your experiential group, because all of those groups have opportunity to create content within and lead by the power of storytelling.
And, it really is just so inspiring because you were able to create some fantastic content that literally won an Emmy, won a Count Award. And so it really is just impressive that you were able to not only entertain, but actually take it to a level where it's something we all really want to aspire to. So I think getting into those studios, how that works, the details, hugely important. And again, it's just not so cut and dry. It seems like, oh, it's a studio, just like put up some lights and have a cool backdrop and, it's easy, but it's not. It's much more complicated than that. But at the same time, can you allocate some marketing budget that you would have somewhere else to create content that can last for a really long time? Can you repurpose content that you already have and reshoot some more current stuff in the studio? So there's so many different ways at which you can use these studios to your advantage. Getting into some of that, I think, will be super exciting for that.
We're going to talk about all of that, and then the one thing that we'll talk about is the opportunity that if you're going to do a content studio, how do you create content that has a long shelf life that also can transform marketing from a cost center to a revenue center. So we're going to walk through examples of content I produced and other people where you will actually see content can actually start making money for you.
Isn't that exciting? Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Sales. And then the best part, it can actually fund more marketing. And I think every marketer out there wants some more money and big budgets. So we'll talk about how do you actually do that as well.
Yeah, and also proving the ROI of it too, right? Because it's a hard initial sell because there is some, upfront investment. So how do you get executives to see, okay, this is a long-term strategy. It's a marketing strategy that we're going to play out over time. But if we're not having these types of conversations, our competitors might be, and it's such a missed opportunity if you don't get in on the ground level.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, cool. Thank you so much, David. I'm looking forward to seeing you on November 6th for the VIP dinner at RPM Italian. And then the next day for our masterclass at the Verizon Public Policy Center. So it'll be just such a cool event. I'm super excited.
Very cool space.